Every 45 seconds, someone in this country has a stroke. By the time this program is over, 40 people will have suffered a stroke. Most of them won't feel a thing, but in a split second, their life changes forever.
I felt funny, but not painfully.
I don't know what's going on, but I honestly feel like I have the worst headache of my life.
When I had a stroke, I didn't hurt at all.
It's like I'm a different person, and I can't do things like I used to do.
A stroke is generally considered to be something that is a sudden onset of a neurologic deficit. For instance, you suddenly drop with paralysis on one side of your body or loss of sensation on one side of your body or the other. The stroke can be generally classified in two different categories, hemorrhagic and ischemic. Hemorrhagic being when there's been a blood vessel in some way ruptured and there's been bleeding into the brain. Ischemic being when there's been a blood vessel that's gotten plugged up or occluded, and then some part of the brain loses blood supply and therefore stops functioning, and that's what produces the deficit. The brain is organized in two hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. In the left hemisphere, there's a particularly important area around the separation between the frontal lobe and the temporal lobe, and that's called the Sylvian fissure. And the part of the brain around the Sylvian fissure is very functional in language, in both understanding language and then producing speech. And the connections go from one part of the brain to another part of the brain to produce the speech output from the language understanding area. And when there's an interruption in that, or a stroke or some other abnormality that interrupts signals from those parts of the brain, that's called aphasia.
Aphasia is a language disorder, and it is a language disorder that is a very frequent accompaniment of stroke. Stroke is the major cause of aphasia. Aphasia often also involves difficulty in understanding what other people are saying, with changes in the ability to read and to write. So it's much more encompassing than just a disorder of speech. It's a disorder of language.
Before her stroke, Judy worked at the largest public library in Dallas. She took care of the staff, typed reports, made phone calls, and helped staff members meet deadlines. At home, along with her husband Bill, she raised 3 children. She lived an active and independent life.
After the stroke, I felt like my brain set down because I didn't talk. I knew that I was thinking of the right thing to say, but I couldn't say that. I didn't realize how hard it was. It was devastating.
Don, a career journalist and author of One Man's Journey, was a machine gunner during World War II. He was wounded and subsequently captured.
I was in combat, and I was a prisoner of war. I had a stroke with aphasia, and I had a heart attack. But the aphasia left me no choice but to speak haltingly.
Don compares his aphasia to his war experiences.
When I was wounded, I got over the wound, but I never get over the aphasia because the aphasia will last me the rest of my life.
According to the National Aphasia Association, over 1 million people in our country have aphasia, but it's certainly not a household name. Why is that? I suppose it's because we have a tendency to lump all of the communication problems that result from stroke under one heading. We call them speech problems. You know, aphasia embraces far more than that. It includes our ability to use verbal language, yeah, but also our ability to understand the language of other people, to read, and to write. A much more encompassing problem.
At 21, Sarah was a pre-law student at Pepperdine University in California. While having dinner with friends, she felt a sudden, piercing pain in her head. She would soon be diagnosed with a ruptured arteriovenous malformation. The result? Aphasia.
The only way I can really describe aphasia is it's that feeling when something's on the tip of your tongue and you just don't know how to say it. It's like that every day of my life. Like, I can't even explain how upsetting it can be to know that you could have explained something before so well and so precisely, and now you're just kind of a victim to these words that are it's so imperative to express what you want to say precisely, and you just can't do it.
For those with aphasia, it's often easier to just avoid people rather than attempting to communicate.
The people don't understand aphasia. I tell them I had a stroke, and I can't talk plainly at all, but ordinary people don't understand what aphasia is.
Communication is our way of getting along in the world. And when someone has aphasia, what happens is that their ability to share feelings and emotions and thoughts with other people are all seriously diminished.
I don't go to church because of the aphasia. People will try to come and welcome me, and I don't know what to say.
Aphasia makes me feel isolated because I don't want to talk to another person who is not understanding. I don't want to be alone.
As you observe the struggle that they're going through, you feel a hurt. You feel a pain because you watch, like I watch Judy, and she's sitting there, and in certain places it's like you're starting all over again, learning to speak, learning to talk, learning to go through that.